Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in if you're watching. And welcome. This is the first time I've ever done a live Q&A like this, so I'm a little bit nervous. Every part of me's sweating, especially my hands. And I'm here with Rick, who's a good friend of mine and is the wizard behind all the video editing and stuff behind the videos you guys would have seen on Brighton Surround. So he's figured out how to get videos playing in the background kind of while we talk about them. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll try to get around to all of them tonight. And yeah, or if you want to talk through a video or you got questions about filming, videoing, life, anything, yeah, let us know. So I guess, yeah, I'll start with a bit about myself and a bit about my background, and then we'll go into some questions. There's some people that commented some questions during the week. But yeah, a bit about myself. So my name's Stan. I live in Bright. I've been here for the last 3.5 years. I came here originally to help out my friend Matt Ellis Murphy at the at Bright Boot Camp at the gym. I've been in the fitness industry for the last almost 10 years. And yeah, came here for 4 weeks and really liked it. So stuck around, and I keep even going away on trips. I keep finding myself back here. It's an awesome part of the world. There's a lot to do if you're into the outdoors, and yeah, and there's a really good community here as well. Like a lot of people that get out and do cool, fun things, and it's the kind of place where everyone sort of knows everyone and helps each other out, and you can walk down the street and see a smiling, friendly face. And I feel like a lot of my social time is just going to the coffee shop in town and just talking to people that you see there. So I grew up in Queensland. I spent most of my life there. I did a lot of sports growing up. I had parents that encouraged us to get in the outdoors and do little bits and pieces. So a lot of the outdoor things I did outside of organised sports were mostly based around the ocean, like wakeboarding and surfing and a lot of board sports and that sort of thing. And as I got a little bit older and finished school, I finished and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I kind of wanted to do something active. So I was working at my mum's restaurant. My mum's Thai. She has had a Thai restaurant, and I was working there part-time. And I saw in a magazine Mount Kinabalu in Borneo, and I read this write-up about it, and it sounded pretty exciting and adventurous. And I was kind of, I think, just finishing school when you don't know what you want to do. I was kind of looking for something to challenge myself and a new experience and something that's a little bit different. So I saved up a bunch of money, waited till I turned 18. And yeah, 5 days after my 18th birthday, went over to Borneo, went up Mount Kinabalu, which is just over 4,000 metres high, hiked through some Borneo jungle, and yeah, and I actually met a climber, a famous Japanese climber called Yuri Hirajama up on Borneo, up on Mount Kinabalu at one of the huts, and started to get curious and intrigued about climbing. I went back to Australia and started my fitness quals, and during that time I was kind of yeah, trying to follow my curiosity as much as possible. So just on a bike, I'd kind of ride as far as I could and wonder what was over the next hill and try and find out by getting there, or wondering if I could get from one place to another through the bush. And I was trying to come up with these little adventures or little missions just with what I had. And then eventually I got a car license and could go a little bit further and expand my radius out a little bit further. And as I did more of these things, I started to become a bit more confident and get more skills. One of my instructors, when I was doing the fitness course, found out he was a climber, so I just asked him, how do I get into climbing? I had no idea, I didn't know anyone that climbed. And he directed me to some things to read and said, go home, practice in your room. And I don't know if this is the best way to get into it, but it's how I did. And he said, go home, practice building these anchors in your room. When you're confident, go get some gear and go out. And so I was terrified of climbing for the first 6 months that I did it. I knew all my systems were safe based on everything that I'd read, but yeah, it was pretty scary. And then in 2016, I moved down to Wodonga in Victoria and got some qualifications, outdoor quals, and started to expand my skill set a bit more. So I did quite a few guiding quals. I've got guide qualifications in climbing and a few other things as well. And yeah, since then I've just kind of been looking to challenge myself a little bit more. When I first started, an adventure was literally just going down to the bushland down the road and some of the mountain bike trails there, which I didn't know about, and just going for a walk and exploring those. And yeah, as I kind of got a bit more confident and a bit more skilled, challenging myself a bit more and looking for those new experiences required going out a little bit further or doing something a little bit more exciting. And yeah, I guess through the whole time I've experienced the same thing as probably everyone does when they go out for an adventure, and there's always excitement, and it doesn't have to be extreme. It's just, I guess, something new and something that challenges you a little bit. And yeah, and moving on. So anyway, over the last couple of years, I've done a few bigger trips. A couple of friends and I kiked to Tassie in 2018 and established some first ascent routes on some of the remote islands out there. I was in Tassie again at the start of the year, paddling up the east coast. Yeah, and I've just tried to find interesting ways of using my skills or trying to learn new skills along the way, which is kind of what a lot of these videos have been about. Yeah, and the video making has just come through lockdown and COVID last year. All my work was at the gym, and when that kind of finished, I didn't have a lot of direction or almost purpose with my days. I didn't really know what to do with myself. And in the first lockdown, I was doing a lot of creative stuff. Yeah, and then the second lockdown, I started making these videos. So these are the videos that you'll see on the screen now. I set the challenge of making a video every day, or an adventure video every day, and ended up making 42 videos in 42 days, all close to home within the lockdown rules. And yeah, definitely grateful to live in Bright and have access to rivers and Mount Buffalo for those first couple of weeks of lockdown. And some of the trails around here that are all really close to my house. And yeah, I have Rick, who I've been making, I guess, all the videos you would have seen on Bright and Surround with. He was mentoring me through the whole process and giving me a little bit of feedback, but it was literally just waking up in the morning, taking out GoPro or a couple of GoPros if I could borrow them off Rick or another mate Colin, and going out and coming up with an idea and going out and filming it by myself. So setting up a tripod, coming back, running past the camera, spinning the camera around and basically covering the same ground a couple of times to get shots, and then going home and editing. And the first week it took me 6 to 8 hours to edit pretty much every video, so it was a bit of a mission, a bit of a marathon. And yeah, and since then, Bright and Surround has been sharing some of the videos that we've been making, and and yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with Rick, who I'm still learning from every time we go out, and that's kind of how that all happened and has been happening. So yeah, I guess if you have any other questions about that, let me know in the comments. And hello to everyone that's just tuned in as well. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'm less sweaty now than when I first started, so that's good. So this is one of the questions that got asked during the week. What attracted you to Bright in the first place? Well, I guess I mentioned before that I came here initially to help out at the gym. I was a bit reluctant initially, and then came for that 4 weeks. And I think what kept me here was, again, the community, and just that there's so much it's such a different environment to the coast where I grew up. I found that I miss the ocean a lot living in Wodonga, but since I've been in Bright, I don't seem to miss it as much. And there's still so many things, like we've got the 4 seasons here, so snow sports I still don't know a huge amount about, and mountain biking, and there's so many things that I didn't grow up with, so it's all really new and still really exciting. And I guess that's kind of what attracted me to here. How'd you get into adventure filmmaking? Who are your inspirations? Jimmy Chin and Rick, they're probably the two biggest influences and inspirations. Jimmy Chin's an adventure photographer, filmmaker. He filmed the Free Solo film with Alex Honnold, and yeah, he's just he's a badass. He goes out with some of the best athletes in the world, climbers, skiers, mountain sport athletes, and pretty much does everything that they do, but he takes a camera and shoots it. The first person to ever ski off Everest, he also skied off Everest, but he went with a camera and shot shot that as well. So he's definitely a big influence. And then Rick, who I mentioned earlier, who has Handcut Productions in town, he's taught me pretty much everything I know about filmmaking. He's given me these looks behind the camera. Rick's a legend, and still learn heaps. From Harper, do you get scared, Stan? If yes, how do you overcome fear? I don't like to use the word fear or like scared, but I try and swap that word out for exciting. Exciting or intimidating or nervous, and I try and label it as appropriately as possible. I feel like fear can be paralyzing, and I just don't like that word. But I definitely do feel those emotions. And the thing that I've kind of learnt, Rick's just put up Aussie Mandaeus. This is like I said before, I was terrified of climbing for the first 6 months that I did it, and the way I kind of got over it was just to keep having a crack. I was the type of person that would climb up to the top of a route, roped in, super safe, and then not want to let go of the wall and get lowered down by the ropes. I'd want to try and climb back down. And the way I got over it was just understanding how, I guess, the systems and how strong all the gear is, and that it's over-engineered and that there's redundancy built into the systems. And once I understood it more, I was able to rationalize the risk and the fear. And I guess in a lot of outdoor things, and this is what I try and do in the outdoors and just in life in general, is just try and understand the perceived risk and the actual risk. I think a lot of things that we look at that can seem quite intimidating or scary initially, once you start, a lot of that is perceived risk. And then if you actually break it down to what are actually the bad things that can go wrong, how do I manage them, how do I manage that risk, you can start to actually rationalize it and choose whether that level of risk is acceptable for you. And yeah, I guess it's just breaking it down into smaller bits and understanding what can go wrong compared to what isn't. So yeah. Do you have any formal qualifications for your adventures? Yeah, as I mentioned before, I studied outdoor rec at Wodonga TAFE, and yeah, I've got a couple of qualifications, mostly around climbing and rope stuff. But I've done swiftwater rescue courses and wilderness first aid and a bit of caving and mountain biking, and I've dabbled in a few different things. Have your recent adventures changed your relationship with the local area? Yeah. I'd say that they're always, my relationship with the area is a positive one, but I'd say it's always changing because I'm learning, I guess I'm learning about different things that are actually possible in the mountains. I never would have thought about probably trying barefoot skiing or going in a sailplane. And I guess I've learned about those things and been lucky enough to have the opportunity to do them. So yeah, it's definitely done that, and I've also been able to meet some pretty interesting people through these, which I'm really grateful for. Like the crackpots that are responsible for the Myrtleford Mosaic Trail. They're legends. Hi, if you're watching. Question: what is my favourite adventure so far? There's quite a few, but I'd say paragliding to the pub was probably the most exciting. It just had all the elements. Like it was new for me. It's on the screen now. It was new for me. I was really worried about landing in a tree and stuffing it up. And I guess because I haven't been as consistent flying, just with COVID and with the lockdowns and bushfires, yeah, that was super exciting. I was pretty engaged the whole time from launching to yeah, launching to actually landing on the ground, and yeah, that's probably my favorite. Where were you born and what is your heritage? So my mum's Thai, dad's Australian, and I was born just outside of Brisbane in a place called Ipswich. What has been the best... Oh, hang on. Oh, what camera gear do you use? And then we've got like a handful of mounts for each of them. So some of the videos I filmed mostly on just one GoPro. The gliding video we had just to get as many interesting shots as we could. We had like 5 or 6 different GoPros. There was one suction capped, the suction cap to the wing with a bit of tape for security. There was, I think, one looking back at me, one looking back at Craig, the selfie pole out the window. I had a spare one in my pocket that I was kind of, to try and make the film interesting, we're always trying to look for different angles and different things to cut to. But it's pretty much all shot on GoPros except for the long lens shot. So Rick often comes out with his camera or the drone as well. And he gets some of those other epic shots. Oh, the loop. How was the double loop? That was super intimidating. I'm somebody that would definitely prefer to be in control when you're doing something a bit exciting or scary. And there it is there. And it's just bizarre. You get when you go upside down, it goes absolutely silent. Like it's already pretty quiet. There's a bit of wind noise, and then once you go upside down, you look at the sky. You're trying to spot the ground behind you, and and it goes deadly quiet. You can't see the ground. Can't see the ground. You see the ground, and then it starts making a little bit of noise again as you pick up speed. That was super exciting. And on that day too, we went up in the sail plane, and I was keeping everything under control. I was pretty nervous, and then as soon as it got released from tow, so the plane that was pulling the glider up, don't have an engine. So as soon as they released us, Craig straight away just goes bang into to me it felt like a really hard turn, and I felt like I was pinned to my seat and looking at the ground going, holy crap. That was really fun. That was definitely one of my favourites as well, and it's just an interesting way to see the mountains and a place that I've been a fair bit. Is gear more important or are the stories more important? Like the gear is an essential part of it, but I don't think you need the most high-tech gear ever. Like we're just using little handy action cams that aren't like super, like they're GoPros. They're awesome, and they do have a lot of strengths. They're super little, so you can put them in your pocket. They're waterproof. They're pretty robust and durable. The one thing about GoPros is that the audio isn't great on them, so I'll often basically hold it really close to my face and and almost yell at the camera. I guess knowing the limitations of your gear is important, but I think what gear you have isn't the end of the world. The story is definitely more important, and something that Rick's kind of reinforced or instilled in me with all this video stuff is how important good audio is. If you've got good audio and a good story, you don't necessarily need the most epic shots in the world. You can usually put together a pretty good film or tell a good story, without epic cinematic shots, which without those. Circus. Would you paddle to New Zealand? Rick's shaking his head. Don't do it. I don't know. I'd be open. I'd be open to doing it. Like it'd, yeah. I'd definitely be open to doing it. I think I'd need a lot of prep in terms of paddling and to again understand the risks that are involved and to try and manage those because it's pretty out there. Yeah, I'd definitely consider it and give it. Yeah, I'd definitely give it some thought. How much gear did you take up Ozymandias? So Ozymandias is the 2-day climb that Ryan and I, my friend from Queensland, did. Or we did it in 2 days. You can do it in a day or longer. It's on the north wall of Mount Buffalo Gorge. It's about 300 meters high, and it's pretty hard climbing. Like it's super technical climbing. There's some shots from it. So these little things, or these, and you're placing these into the crack. So these ones go into a crack, and they expand as they get weighted. And these are little chocks that basically you're putting into little constrictions in the crack, trying to set them so they bite into the crack, and using those. And we did a style of climbing where basically instead of just using the rock, you're basically placing this gear in, attaching a little ladder to it, and you'll see it if you watch the video again if you're not that familiar with climbing. Attaching a little ladder and then walking up the ladder as high as we can, and then reaching up and trying to place the next piece of gear. And it takes a really long time. It's arduous, and it's quite gear intensive. So we pretty much took all the gear that's on this couch, 2 ropes, all this. This is the full climbing rack. It's pretty heavy. And the climbers, the lead climbers, whoever's first is carrying most of that gear up. And then we took a portal ledge, so a platform to sleep on. We had both our sleeping bags, food, and a little bit of water, or enough water for the 2 days. And oh yeah, he's waking up on big grass. So this is a ledge just below halfway on the route. And Ryan took the portal edge, and that was such an epic sunrise. Yeah, Ryan took the portal edge, I took a hammock, and there's just enough. It's called Big Grassy. It's not big and it's not grassy. It should be. It's a misleading name, but basically there's enough ground that you can. It's a bit slopey. It should be called a little slopey. There's enough room that you can get off and you can walk around, and it's a bit easier to set up the portal edge and stuff from there. And I think this is where Ryan made, this is talking about the poo tube. So you got to carry all the gear, everything out with you, and it's pretty poor form if you go to the bathroom on the cliff. So that's our poo tube before it was filled. Yeah, it's there's almost a, poo with a view. That was a good one. Mm.
So we're almost packed up. Ryan is getting racked up and ready to lead the roof.
Awesome. Next question.
Roof up there.
Can you do
3 more pictures?
Can you do a video to Mount Bogong or Mount Feathertop? Yes. Yeah, we're actually planning before COVID to do before this recent lockdown, which kind of inspired this Q&A. We'd planned to do an overnight hike up on Mount Bogong. There's a bit of snow up there at the moment. So hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. It'll be awesome to get up there, and yeah, I love both those mountains. Next question. If someone wanted to get started in filming their own adventures, any advice? To have a crack, to go out and just try it. A really quick overview on the way that I think about it, or we think about it, and this is Rick's influence, is to when he edits it and lays it down, he gets all the audio, so all the pieces to camera, and that you should be able to listen back to it if you lay it down and that tell the story. And once you've got the story down, you just get the shots that support that over the top. There's a video up there now that I made during lockdown. It's day 22, I think. Is it day 22? Yeah, day 22, and it's how to make or how I film the lockdown adventures, and it's like this part, I'm basically doing multiple takes of the intro to the camera just to try and tell the story. And same thing when I've been out filming these videos is sometimes you'll take 5 minutes to say a 1-sentence thing, or you'll get distracted midway through. And yeah, so get the audio, the piece to cameras, and then besides that, I'm trying to get other shots. So just here, I put down a tripod and I faced it up the hill, and yeah, and I've run past the tripod to show that I'm running, and then spun around, and I've obviously got to go back down to get the camera. So yeah, besides getting the audio that tells the story and intro, interesting things you see along the way, any other thoughts that you have, if it's challenging or how you're feeling, or if it's scary or if it's exciting, all those things help tell the story. And I think the things that make adventure films engaging, or part of it, is the personal moments, the things that your experience of it, or how, if you're feeling scared or if you're feeling cold, and just trying to share that as if you had a friend that you're telling to on the phone through a video call. It feels really awkward trying to talk to a camera at the start. Like if you've never talked to a camera before, it just feels so awkward. And I'm still pretty nervous about it around other people, but I feel a little bit better about it now, even though I've made, there's almost 50 videos now. Around other people, yeah, it just feels strange walking off into the distance talking to yourself. And my neighbours, really good people, if they hear me talking to myself, they think, oh, he's probably just filming another video. Yeah, and I guess, is there anything else? Yeah, you don't need the best gear, just go out and have a crack. You'll learn along the way. And another good thing too, I've gotten to photography over the last sort of 18 months. That's become quite a bit of a passion, or quite a passion of mine. Look at photos. Oh, here's one. Rick just pointed it. Here's one of my photos. So this is just tangent. This will happen a bit, I think. This is my friend Brad highlining across Mount. Whoop, it's shiny. Highlining across Mount Buffalo Gorge. There's Mount Bogong in the background. Yeah, I've been trying to photograph adventures and some of the places that we go to. And anyway, going back to what I was saying before, find photographers or films that you really like and ask yourself why you like them. Is it the composition? Is it how they tell the story? Is it the characters within the story if it's a video? Is it the shots? Is it the music? Is it, all those things together kind of help tell a story. And also it helps to find good mentors. I'm going to waffle on about mentors for a sec, I guess, because I think finding mentors, I've had this conversation a couple of times the last few weeks. Finding good mentors really helps, and to find good mentors, I feel like I've been really lucky, but I've literally just cold called people, or I've asked somebody, do you know somebody, or can you introduce me to, do you know somebody who knows about this particular thing? If yes, can you introduce me to them, or can I have their number, or how do I contact them? How do I find these people? And what I've learned is that if you contact somebody and you're keen and interested, they'll probably give you a little bit of information. They might not give you all their time, but if you go away and have a good crack at it and practice, then call them back a month later and say, hey, this is what I've done. I took your advice on board. What's the next step, or how do I do it? People will help out. And when I did that Bass Strait crossing with a couple of friends, the reason for that was to choose something that was out of my comfort zone, something that I didn't have the skills to do at the time, but I knew I could learn the skills to do. And I set a timeline of 12 months because it seemed realistic, and started calling friends. Do you know anyone that's paddled across Bass Strait, or knows about sea kayaking, or or can teach me how to improve my paddling? And I've been really lucky. I cold called a guy through a friend, and he ended up being a mentor. And yeah, and I met quite a few people just from going through that process who have become good friends and still mentors now. So, anyway, that's the long-winded answer. Which Phil is this? So, question. Phil asked, I've done 7, what was it? Phil asked, I've done 7 adventures. When do I get abs like yours? Rick shaking his head, never. Hey, Phil. He's got him. Yeah, Phil's jacked. Next question. What is the hardest adventure so far? The physically hardest and the hardest thing to get my head around has definitely been the barefoot skiing. It was one of the earlier videos, and I hadn't spent, growing up I did a little bit of wakeboarding, and I hadn't spent much time behind a boat. And oh, I'm a bit nervous. Does it knock the wind out of you, or peel your eyelids back, or what?
Sort of wakes you up a bit.
It wakes you up a bit. And this was the moment that I realised it was my turn. And I've got to say, my confidence was pretty low. But I put on the padded wetsuit anyway. Got some last minute instructions and got in the water. Now I was thinking, this might be my dumbest adventure idea yet. I took a deep breath, and moments later, I was standing on water. But I knew it wasn't going to be that easy. Crack at the short line, and I got dragged around the Lake Buffalo, which is, you know, fairly decently sized, for literally an hour. They said if you lose position if you lose position or you fall over or whatever, just let go, we'll come pick you up. But that would happen almost instantly every time. So I just figured I should be able to muscle it. I backed myself, and I kept trying to pull myself around. And literally for an hour before I finally stood up, I was just getting dragged from one side of the lake to the other, getting ragdolled on my back, and then trying to spin around, and then getting ragdolled on my side. And there's probably some shots of that here. Yeah, there you go. This literally happened for an hour, and I'm not somebody that bruises very easily, but for the week after that, my whole body, I felt like I was walking around town like this. My abs were so sore, and my whole body was sore, and my back, like pretty much from my shoulders down to my butt, including my butt actually, which is purple. It was almost, yeah, like the color of this, and yeah, here's more carnage. But that was super fun, and it ended up being really rewarding. I've been on so many, I guess, missions, adventures, or I've tried to be ambitious in the past, or just have a crack at as much as I can, because I think you grow. There's so much to grow from, and you learn so much from just having a crack at things, and it's really rewarding too. And if you don't get it, you learn something, and that's useful. But yeah, it was really rewarding that I was actually able to stand up for a little bit at the end. So that was definitely the hardest. And it's so physical. Ashton, who was kind of showing me, as well as Sam, how to do it. He's a gun, and he was doing jumps and all kinds of, I think this is the one where I stand up. Carnage. Yeah, I was working so hard for that, and then got up, and I was so nervous. Everything was clenched. Ashton earlier in the day was skimming across the water and took a massive face plant. You don't see it coming. It's in the video too if you go back and watch it. But he's just going along, and and just disappears. The massive face plant. So I was terrified of that. Yeah, and this is Lake Buffalo. It's a pretty epic spot. On the back of Mount Buffalo, and yeah, it's not a place that I've been a lot, so it was cool to get out and get back on a wakeboard too. I hadn't been on a wakeboard in ages, and that's a wakeboarding shot there. I figured out that I could do a 360 on a wakeboard. I used to wakeboard a bit as a kid, but I'd never done that before, so that was kind of cool. Question. Do you see yourself as a trailblazer? I'm trying to think of what a... I'm trying to like think of what Trailblazer is. Rick's like mosaic. We went out with I'll kind of answer the question in two ways, but we went out with the ladies behind the mosaic trail, and I think that's where he made that link, because they kind of... Was that secretly from one of the crackpots? You didn't hear anything in the last 10 seconds. This is the trouble with going live. Yeah, went out with those guys, and their story, if you haven't seen the video, is that they the ladies who have lived a good life, and they're a little bit older, and they're looking for something exciting to do, and they thought, oh, we'll get tattoos, and then they thought after a while, oh, that might be a bit extreme. So they started making mosaics and bombing them, sneaking out at night and putting them around town as anonymous street artists. And they're still anonymous, which is pretty cool a couple of years later. But I was lucky enough to, or relatively anonymous, I was lucky enough to go out with them and learn how to make mosaics. And we snuck out one night and bombed one somewhere. So if you're ever in Mert, it's a rock climber, or you'll see it at the end of the video. It doesn't give away where it is. Those guys are definitely trailblazers, or going out and doing their own thing. I don't know if I'd consider myself a trailblazer. I just kind of do what inspires me, I guess, and I think it's nice to try and emulate and people, and you'll learn a lot from doing that. But also just trying to combine things and sports, or think of different missions and different things that I haven't done before, and sometimes they're a little bit unique and less done. But yeah, I don't know if I'd call myself a trailblazer if I go out and try and seek that. 5 things. So next question: 5 things on your bucket list. I feel like my bucket list is constantly evolving, and it's kind of and I kind of just tick things by convenience at the moment, partly because of COVID, but also it's the easiest way to tick things off your bucket list that are fulfilling. I guess a few things just off the top of my head. I'd like to learn how to skydive, and I'd love to one day jump out of a plane and parachute into somewhere remote and try and find a way out like Bear Grylls would. I think that'd be super cool. Love to do that. Love to paddle the west coast of Tasmania. Earlier this year we planned to circumnav and didn't get all the way around, so I'd love to do that super remote stretch of coast. I'd love to learn how to I went out with a friend the other day, Craig, who flew the glider, and he's just into all things. I went out with him unicycling on these big off-road unicycles, and I'd love to pick a big mountain objective of something of that nature. I think that's 3. When I was a kid, I thought, and I don't know if this is how possible this is, but I'm definitely not closed off to it. Maybe it's like when you know that you don't have much time left, but I thought it'd be interesting to abseil into an active volcano, or at least pop your head over the edge. I know you got to wear suits, and it might not be rope, it might be wire, or I don't know how that works, but when I was a kid, for some reason, I thought that'd be a cool thing to do. And I like to paddle the Inside Passage up Canada's west coast from Seattle up to Alaska. that'd be cool. I guess I'm just naming trips or things that I want to do. And I'd love to do something in Antarctica. I'd love to go out there and climb something as well. Questions? Oh. There's a question that came in during the week, which is how many push-ups can you do in 1 minute?
From Harper.
And that's from Harper. Hey Harper. I hope you're watching this. If you're watching this, do you know how many push-ups you can do? If you know, then have the number in mind and yeah, let's do it. So we'll set a timer. We'll see how many push-ups we can do in a minute. And yeah, let me know in the comments how you go if you have a crack. Yeah. I reckon I'll get more than 30, but I don't reckon I'll get more than 50. That's my guess. Have a guess. See how, yeah, see if you know where you're at. All right. I'll move this. If you have any other strange requests while this table is not here, then yeah, and let us know. I've been learning. All right. This is gonna get warm. Have you got a timer? All right. Hang on, I need a quick. Yeah. All right, my guess is I'll just have a crack and see what happens. All right. Ready? Oh, time on. Sorry, there wasn't a warning. I think that's 7, 8. 21, 20. Oh, that's 26, I think. I hope they'll full range. Oh, 34. Oh, I hope some of you are doing this with me. Oh, that's 38. Oh my God. Oh, 10 seconds. 41. Time. Oh man. I think that was 45, if I can count, which I don't always do very well. I think that's 45. If you did that at home, or you're gonna have a crack while we're still going, put in the comments how many you did. Yeah. Thanks, Harper. If I wasn't warm before, I am now. I might bring the table back. How many of you guys, did anyone do that? Dom's about to hit big time. That's Busey. Hey, Busey. It shows our, yeah, out of shape for push-ups. I'm glad you didn't ask me to do something with my legs. I haven't used them in 9 weeks with all this paddling and other stuff. Another question, have you ever camped overnight in the snow? Yeah, the first time I did it was when I did my TAFE course. I hadn't really spent any time in the snow at all, so we went out with TAFE as part of one of our units to do some Alpine skills. So we learned about, I guess, snowcraft and making different shelters and other things. And went out and camped in the snow, which was really cool because I guess growing up in Queensland and not having really spent much time there, it was a totally different experience, which was really cool. And a couple of things that I learnt from it. I think I know that there's big holes in my knowledge with Alpine stuff, so I'd love to do a course at some stage. But some of the things that I learnt is to get warm before you get in your sleeping bag. Sleeping bag works by creating a space of dead air. Your body heats the space of dead air. It helps keep you warm and insulated. Well, that's what provides that. High density foam mats underneath you, as well as your normal inflatable comfy one. The high density foam is good. If you have a little cutout of high density foam, shove it under the lid of your backpack or somewhere convenient. You can just pull it out to sit on whenever you want. That's useful. In the vestibule, so the little door of your tent or the little overhanging bit, if you dig a little trench or a little trough, cold air sinks, so it's supposed to keep your tent a little bit warmer. But it's also nice because you wake up in the morning and you can flick your legs into the tent to put your shoes on or your boots on. That's really nice. We learned a little bit about self-arrest. There's a lot of people, I think, going up, it's good to know a few things, I think, if you're going to do anything in the Alpine. It's just the consequences are so much higher, so it's really important that you're checking the weather, you got the right gear. You at least know a little bit about what's going on. And one of the big hazards is ice and actually slipping and not being able to stop yourself before you hit something. We saw a couple of hikers. I think Rick's going to play it. We saw a couple of hikers up on, my heart rate's still high. Oh man, I hope some of you guys did that at home. I just got a message. Forgot to count. Sorry, getting distracted. Squirrel. Mount Bogong in the gliding video, there were a couple of hikers at the top near the summit cairn that we could see, and there was somebody else hiking, I think they were hiking. They might have been skiing out to one of the huts there. There was a little group right there actually in the video. As we come around, you can kind of see them at the summit cairn. If you're going to go out, make sure you got the gear, and I'd strongly recommend going out with somebody who knows what they're doing and has a bit more of an understanding of the risk. It's like the ocean, with it, I guess, unless you know, you won't have the eyes to see some of those hazards, and that's kind of how I feel about a lot of these Alpine conditions. Is that's something I definitely want to learn about, and I'm happy to invest that time and into actually learning it properly. Are you into adventure racing or more in completing adventures? My interest in racing, I grew up doing a lot of competitive sport. I was always a bit of an all-rounder and did a lot of different sports growing up. And when I finished school, I kind of got itchy feet to compete again a couple of times. And being an all-rounder, I guess I never really focused on one thing. And one of the things I really like is variety. And I guess you can kind of see from some of the adventures, I'm kind of inspired by trying and learning different things. I felt like I was kind of trying and find sports that would fit that all-rounderness. So I got into obstacle racing, which is how I met Matt, who owns the gym in Bright. Got into obstacle racing because it seemed like you need to be quite a bit of an all-rounder to do, and dabbled in CrossFit and that sort of thing a little bit. And I've done 2 shorter, like 24-hour and 48-hour adventure races before, which I enjoyed, but I think I'm a lot more driven to doing my own adventures, just choosing the parameters in which I can operate rather than being kind of, I guess, restricted a little bit in what gear you take, what route you take. I definitely think I'm a bit more inspired to, maybe this is answering the trailblazing question as well. I'm a bit more inspired to go out and kind of come up with my own idea or concept, or and go and do that without time pressure or these other kind of restrictions. I definitely appreciate aspects of competing and racing, and I think there's parts of my personality that are competitive, but I find that a lot more of that now is kind of with myself and trying to challenge myself or stretch myself to something I haven't done before. But I'm definitely not opposed to racing. I like it, and I like the I like the mental aspect as well of just trying to, yeah, you definitely find another zone of intensity or can find another zone of intensity when you're racing, which is really cool. Questions? Yeah, if you guys have questions, keep them coming. This is how are we going for time? This is fun. We're not really. Oh, we got 3 minutes. Yeah, if you got any last questions, chuck them in. I'm having a good time. Thanks for watching if you're still watching, and yeah, really appreciate you guys doing it, especially for those that did the push-ups, doing the push-up challenge. This was in during the week. You are one of the happiest people online. What is your secret? Thanks. I think I'm a happy person. I'm definitely not happy all the time. There's definitely challenges. Like last year I felt like the highs were really high, but there are definitely some really big lows, and I think you've kind of got to have some of those lows and challenging times to appreciate the good. Things that I guess I try and do is do things that make me feel fulfilled or happy as frequently as I can. Try and do things that I value, like growth, challenging myself, adventure, meeting new people, connecting with people. I try and I've thought a little bit about what the things are that I value, and I try and do those. And if I'm not feeling that fulfilled, or if I'm not feeling that great, start to think of different areas of my life that maybe I could do more of that. Bright. And I made all these arbitrary rules, like you had to do it without a shirt on, and it was going into winter, and that it all had to be on foot. So if I carried the rock, I could leave it there for the day, but I'd have to run home, and then the next day run from home to where I left the rock before I could start carrying it again. I named it Peanut. It was 52 kilos. I guess the last bit of the backstory before I go to did I get it to the top was that I went out one day to try and find a rock that was suitable. Found 2 rocks that were kind of the right shape and they weren't too rough, and chucked them in the back of my car. Next day, go to carry them, pull them out and go. Went to pick up the first one, could barely get it off the ground, and thought this thing's way too heavy. Picked up the second rock and thought I can probably do this, and pondered it for a while, and then thought, nah, it has to be the bigger rock. I'll figure it out as I go. And the first day I could only carry it 50 meters at a time max. I think I got it to my shoulder once. I could only just get off the ground and hold on my lap. And then by day 4, I could get up to my shoulder consistently and get a couple 100 meters out. And after that, I was able to do 500 or 600 meters at a time for the first couple carries. And I think last day was a 40k day with 4.5 k's of carrying and 1350 of gain. Like, it was a big day, but there's still 10 k's to go, and I haven't got it to the top, and it's still stashed there, where nobody can hopefully find it and move it. Not that anyone would. So that's time. I've got the signal. I really appreciate you guys tuning into this. It's been really awesome to learn about these videos and to share them. And during that first lockdown, because we've had quite a few now, especially in Victoria, it's been nice to hear the feedback, and that people are being inspired to get out and do their own sort of adventures. And and that's I'm glad you guys have been watching them and been enjoying them, and really grateful for that. And thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good night.